That's why I slam so hard on my keyboard. So I'm so mad at Google all the time. Okay, well, let's look at the folders first. Okay, so here we are. I've got a root directory. You guys know how I feel about root directories, right? It's guaranteed that when you submit something, you're going to need to zip together your root directory and submit the whole folder. Not just the HTML file, not just the CSS file, and not the two files floating independently of each other. File management is pretty easy, I think, but you do have to pay a little bit of attention to it, and I will take off points for it if you just like submit floating files to me. It probably will not be something like midterm exam review. It will probably be, well, you guys know the naming convention I like. It'll be like your last name dash midterm dot zip or something like that. Something very close to that. So here's the text file that you'll be starting from. I don't think I'll take off any points for not putting this into a resources subfolder, but that's where I would put it. I might give extra credit for doing that. I don't know. I haven't decided. Anything, remember, that you're planning to use in the creation of the website or page, but is not actually going to be part of it itself, throw it into a resources subfolder. So that's where this guy would go if I were working on it. And then let's see, I can go ahead and just open this up. Just open up a notepad. Yeah, so here it is. Very similar to what we had before, but not quite the same. Yeah, that whole thing that Windows does with that, it was so helpful when it was just left and right. And then they changed it to the four corners, and it's been completely useless since then. At least that's my feeling. Let me go to my
Power Toys.
What's that?
Power Toys.
Power Toys, right. Let me open up.
No. It's an application. You can set your own screens and margins and stuff like that.
All right, cool. I'll have to look into that. Okay, so I'm in code, opening up the folder, midterm exam, review. I'm going to make myself a new document. HTML. And what is this guy? Are you acting like I've never used this program before? Anyway. And then what you want to do is take all of this plain text. This is going to look. This looks very similar to what I'm going to give you. When you do a plain text document, I know for like Unit 3 when you did your resume, for those of you who did Goofy, I gave you a rich text document so you could actually see the sizes of the headings and get some idea. Oh, this should be an H1, this should be an H2, and so on. I'm not going to do that this time. You just have to look through it, do a little bit of analysis, and see. Take all this stuff, copy it, paste it right into your new HTML file, and then start building this into a document. Or conversely, it might make more sense to you to build the document out first and then copy and paste that in. So let me show you what that would look like. Is just go ahead and do. In fact, that's probably the way I would do it now I think about it. So you put a doc type. You know you need that up at the top. You need a root element. Lang equals English. The two children of the HTML element are head and body. The head requires at least two elements to start with. One of them is the meta char set, character set equals, and then UTF hyphen 8. Remember, that's what you tend to see in HTML file naming and so on, is using the dashes. And then you also need a title. And then maybe go into the body and say, okay, so here's all my stuff, so I'm going to paste all this stuff right into there. It's up to you. Doesn't matter which way. This is just your own. I'm not going to like ask you to like show me your process or anything. It's just all about where you wind up. Usually the first piece of text on the page is your big H1. I know the textbook example uses the H2, either way. Usually whatever's the top piece of content on the page, you would also put it into your title. So not only do you have to have a title element, you'll have to have something in there too, something that makes sense. Probably a good time to save. In the absence of any other name, if I don't tell you what to name this file, assume that it's a home page and name it index.html, please. You guys should all be in the habit of doing that at this point anyway. So index.html is what I would choose in the absence of any other directions. Save it into your root folder. Now, probably some structural elements. I would imagine that at least header and main, and then probably you'll have a choice about whether you need to have a footer in there or not. And then, there's within this framework, there's a lot of different things you could choose. Like, do I put in Goofy in my portfolio? Do I put in Goofy in my portfolio and, this link and then this and so on and so forth? I don't know. If I want to keep it simple, maybe I'll just go to header and put a big H1 or H2 again, and just put that in there and call it good, and the rest of the stuff will go into main. So let's see, I should be able to, let's see if it gives me some indenting here without me asking it to. No, it's going to outdent into everything. That's okay. I'll get that fixed. So all this stuff is inside main. That's probably like all I will be looking for as far as like structural elements. I know that sometimes it makes sense to divide this into sections, and if you want to do that, great. But I'll be happy if you have like a header and a main and maybe a footer inside the body element. So let's start putting some hierarchical elements here, otherwise known as text elements. So if I've got an H1 up here, maybe I would choose H2. Probably want to pick out like the headings first. That's what I like to do, at least, if I can find the structure. And what you look for generally are shortish lines like this that make sense as like, yeah, that would make sense as a heading, like about me, and then there's a paragraph that follows that seems to be related to that, right? So that's probably a good candidate for a heading. So maybe like an H3. And then skills, maybe it's the same thing. And experience and education. I think there's a couple more that I took out here because I wanted to keep this fairly short, but I'm going to go ahead and just do this all the way through because this is what you're going to want to do for the test. It's going to be very like this. I'm going to make sure I get my indents level the same. 3, there we go. Okay, so now I've got some headings in there. Save might be a time to go ahead and preview and see what this document's starting to look like. And there we go. There's the H1, H2, and then some H3s that follow. Looking good so far. Okay, so you don't want any text that's floating text, right? By which I mean it's not nested inside any text element or hierarchical element or block level element. It's like this guy right here. That should be in a paragraph. Don't just leave it floating. Even if it looks okay over here, go ahead and get it into a paragraph. Let's see if I can get this shortened here. No, let's see, I better go ahead and cut and paste. I go back and forth on whether I would be more efficient with or without autocomplete. I'm still not entirely sure.
Yeah, sometimes it's really convenient, and other times it's super annoying.
Yeah, I'll test it out the other way again and see which one works better for me. Okay, so these are all paragraphs. This looks like another paragraph. Indented again. This one looks like a list of things. Yeah.
Mr. Bispo, are you gonna specify like something being bold or anything?
Probably not. So you mean like using emphasis and strong tags? Yeah, I don't see myself doing
right.
That. Yeah, probably not. Okay, so these guys are a list of things, so I'm not going to bother with those for right now, other than just to get them indented. And let's see, I guess I can do all these at the same time here. This guy. Come on, baby. No. What's it going to take? Thank you. So I guess this would actually be yet another level of headings. I'm not going to be expecting more than like 3 levels of headings here. I probably shouldn't have even put this section in. So Yeah, let me go ahead and just take these out. Just, you guys, by the way, you will not have this luxury. When you take the test, you're not allowed to delete any content or add any content of your own. It's got to be just the content I give you, and it all has to show up on the page over here. But I just took some out because I think that you're getting my idea already, and I don't need the extra levels of headings in there. So I'll go ahead and just get this last little bit in here. There we go. So somewhat shortened page. And then there's one more like block of text that I need to get into a structure here. And that is going to be in a UL. And if you see these little short lines right next to each other, that should give you a good clue for you that this should be list items inside some kind of a list. Now, whether you choose to do an unordered list or an ordered list, I'm not going to make a big deal out of that. Whichever one you choose is fine. I think this makes more sense as an unordered list, but I wouldn't get sticky about it. Okay, cool. So if you got this far, then you've gotten most of it already. So this is already looking good, I think. Now there is something else in here that would need to be dealt with, and that is there's a link, right? There's mickey.disney.com/goofy, which I found just this afternoon. This page, it's all about Goofy. So I want to make sure that you guys know about this. Like, this by itself will not work as the hyperreference because it's not complete. It doesn't have the protocol at the beginning. So if I copy this and do a href equals, and then just paste this right in there like this, that won't do it. If I click on this guy here, let's see if this even works here. File not found, right? See, it's looking through for a file protocol here because I did not put the HTTP in. So what you want to do, instead of pasting that in just as it is, go ahead and copy this text, the whole thing, when I give you something that's obviously supposed to be a link, and paste it into the browser. So open up a new tab here, paste it, and then hit enter because the browser is smart enough to handle that and add the protocol. And then you can go ahead and do Control L, grab the whole thing, and copy it. So now it's including this HTTPS protocol. Then get it back into your code and paste it into the href attribute. That's the only way that it's going to work. Now when you click on this, well, yeah, it did. Okay, so it's, well, okay, let me try it from here then. Now it's working, right? So poor old code got a little bit confused by that, but yes, that's what you need to do. You need to get the whole address, including HTTP or HTTPS in there, and then your anchor is looking good. So let's see, there's a few things that I might put in for extra credit. So I'll let you guys know what those are. One of them would be using HTML entities, which I did, as you recall from last time, I did put up a link in those like useful links for HTML, etc., about how to get in like quotes and apostrophes and so on. So let's see, here is an apostrophe. Right now it's a straight apostrophe. There we go. So it's really cool. So instead of a straight apostrophe, if you know to do like right single quote like that, so that you get the curly apostrophe here, extra credit. Same thing goes for these quotes here, like what a goofy profile. This would be like left double quote, and then this one would be a right double quote. There we go. So you get curly quotes before and after instead of just straight quotes. They look so much better. They look ever so much better. So yeah, extra credit for finding those and getting all of them, by the way. If there's like 3 of them in there, you got to get all of them to get the extra credit. Here's another piece of extra credit that you might get. And I don't think I've even showed this to you guys, but I'll show it to you now. So this guy right here, when it's just regular hyperlink, if I click on it, then it opens in the same window, right? It just went straight forward, and now my website or whatever is gone. And very often for external links, you do not want do that, you want it to open up a new tab so that the user goes to the new tab, they close the new tab, and your website is still there waiting for them to get back to. So the way you do that is by a target attribute inside the Agar. Target equals underscore blank, which means open up a new blank tab. So if I save that and go over here and tap, then it opens up a new browser window. Notice there's no back available. And when I close that, the referencing page is still available waiting underneath. Okay, what else? Extra credit for commenting your code in ways that make sense. Even if you were to just comment like before these H3s happen, if you were to do like education here and then skills, or just something that makes any kind of sense to the way the structure of this is, then you can pick up some extra credit for that. And I know some of you guys have been commenting your code already anyway, so you're halfway there already. So something like that, and then you'll be good to go for that extra credit. I think that's it. I was thinking about maybe bringing in, maybe showing you guys how to do titles for tooltips, but let's go ahead and let's stop it right there. I think that's it. So those are the 3 pieces of possible extra credit. There may be unstated bits of extra credit. Basically, just mark up the page as well as you can, by which I don't mean overdoing it, but if we did talk about something in class, then you think, well, maybe that would be a best practices thing. Go ahead and do it. And then if I notice it, I might give you some extra credit for it. But other than that, this would be a well-formatted HTML page now. Now, what do I have to do with this before doing anything else?
Verify it.
But yeah, validate it. Now I'm going to put in one more line of code so I don't have to validate it twice. The other part of this is going to be CSS, right? And so I'm going to go ahead and put the link in here. Let me make myself a new folder first. And since we've been using styles as a subfolder, I'll do that. And then let's go ahead and make the new document, I guess. And then we've been using main.css. Inside styles, there we go. And now I'll go ahead and do a link attribute to bring in that style sheet. So when I ask you to format the page, you got to remember to do it the same way we've been doing it in lab exercises. Don't do a style element in page like this and then put your CSS in there. Use a link element to call it in from an external style sheet like this. So rel equals style sheet and href equals, and then go ahead and is it styles? Come on now. There we go. Okay, good. And so what do we need to do in CSS? So like I was saying, no flexbox stuff and no media queries. It's going to be type formatting and box model stuff. So padding, borders, margin, and that's going to be it. So let's see, I will ask you to, oh, and by the way, type formatting includes at font face, since we did that last week. So I want you to be able to use Google Fonts. So that'll be the first thing that I'll probably ask for. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe a background on the HTML. Let's go ahead and do that first. So if I do like HTML, and then I will tell you some kind of RGB value probably to do for a background. And you can either use background color, or you can just use background the way that I like to do and the way we've been doing in lab. So I don't know what it'll be, but probably some kind of light gray or something, maybe 230s. Like so, and then body background white. This should look kind of familiar. So we've got the dark gray or light gray around the outside and then white behind the body. And then let's go ahead and do the Google Fonts. So I'm going to go to, I guess I'll go ahead and use the Goofy page here. Oh no, actually, because this is, no, okay, I won't. So it's fonts.google.com. And then I'll specify a font to use. That'll probably be on this starting page. Let's say I'm going to go ahead and use Lato. And let's see. I'm going to Roboto slide. I'm going to remove all this stuff here. And then you'll probably have to get 2 of these. I don't think I did that before, but recall that if you want like italic type on your page, then you actually have to download the italic version. Otherwise, you just get kind of like the regular version that's been shoved over 10 or 15 degrees or whatever. But I probably will just ask you to do the regular and the bold of whatever font that I'm doing. And you'll need the bold for the headings and so on. So you can just select both of them. So select regular 400 and then select bold 700. And then when you go into here in the little tray and you go to add import, you'll see both of them. So there's the family of Lato, and then it's got a weight in there, 400 and 700. So you know to go ahead and grab this and copy it and paste it into your code up at the top. Like so. And then if you need it, they give you the code to use in your CSS right here. So you can copy that if you don't remember what it should be. And I'll probably ask for it on the body element. So you can just go ahead and paste it right in there. And there we go. There's Lato, and there's the bold, and there's the regular. It won't be Lato. It'll be something like that. Let's see. I will ask for line height, because line height by default, that 120% just isn't enough usually. If I say like 100, say make this 1.5 times the size of the type. There's a couple of ways you can do it. You can do it with 1.5M. Just remember an M is the size of the type. Or, more in keeping with what we've been doing for the demos, you could do 150%, and that'll work too. If I ask for the changing the color of the type, then it's just a color property here. And I don't know, whatever it winds up being, RGB. It'll probably just be grays like this, because that's just the easiest thing. Except I can't seem to get the zeros. There we go. Not 10,000, but 100. So yeah, as far as the type formatting goes, font family, and importing the Google font, line height, color. The only other one I can think of that I would be likely to do would be font size. If I did, then I might ask you to do it on a paragraph. So make the paragraph like font size like 90% or something, except actually use a percent sign, which would make it a little bit smaller. So I think that's it for the type formatting. So yeah, font family, font size, line height, color, in conjunction with the app font face imported from Google Fonts. I think that's it for type formatting. I think that's good. Other than that, it's going to be box model stuff, so padding, borders, margin. The margin thing, I'm likely only to do it on one bit here, and that is to get the body element centered in the page. Let's see what this guy looks like right now. Here it is right now. And if I want to get this, like put a max width on the body and then get it centered in the page, notice most of the stuff is going to be on the body in HTML, and that's because I don't know yet exactly what your text elements are going to look like in your own HTML, because everyone's going to have one that's a little bit different. So most of it's going to be applied to HTML and body, not all of it. Let's see what I was saying. Okay, so max width, and then I don't know, let's say 800 pixels, something like that. Okay, so, and that's too wide. Let's do...
You have your semicolons not...
Thank you.
Yep.
Boom. There we go. And then, so whatever, I don't even know what it's going to be, some kind of max width. And then know this little bit here, margin 0 auto, that is the most useful thing in, using the margin property. So you got to know it. That's just center that guy on the page. And padding. Right, so that'll push the text in from the walls and also connect it with the top of the screen. Yeah, that's looking good. Now I've got some H3s in here, and you will certainly have some H3s as well. I don't think it'll go down to H4s, but you'll have somewhere, like you'll have the big H1, and then maybe one or two H2s, and then there will be a few of these H3s. And the H3s are going to be one of the other things that I asked for here. And this is where we'll get the border in. So I kind of like that border top thing we did to the HGO or the H1 in the exercises. So I might have to ask you to do like H3 border top, thin solid or 1px solid. Oops. Why am I doing nested tags here? Let's try that again. There we go. So you get the lines on top, and then in order to make it so the text isn't actually touching the lines or close to it, then, do a padding top as well, whatever it winds up being, like so. Nice, right? And then a border color. Probably matching the background, whatever it is for the HTML. So you can do border color and then the RGB. What did I do? 230s. Like so. So it's just kind of light, and or you could even put these as a single one here. So border top, thin solid RGB value. That'll work too. Boom. And I think that's what I need you to know. So the box model stuff, we've got padding top, we've got max width, margin, and then border top, and that's basically it. Extra credits, I will maybe give some extra credit for being able to put like rounded corners on the bottom corners of the body element. So that would be border radius. And you'd have to put in the 4 values, so like 0, 0, and then 0.5m, 0.5m. This is exactly what we did for the exercises. And then you can barely see it, but there are the rounded corners down there, but not up at the top. That would be extra credit. I think that's it. Hope I didn't forget anything. If I did forget something to review something, that does not mean it's not fair game on the exam. So you need to be studying everything that we've done. Just thought I'd mention that. But I believe this is going to be just about it. I can't think of anything else that I'll ask for that I did not do here in the HTML and in the CSS. So again, the HTML is just going to be starting with this document, and your only instruction will be turn this into an HTML page in the way that seems most logical to you, using document elements, structural elements, and text elements or hierarchical elements. You'll need to use like paragraphs and lists. You'll have one anchor link that you need to deal with, and so on. And then I will give you instructions about what I want to happen in the CSS. So as far as this stuff goes, you'll have more explicit instructions for that. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording.